Hello and welcome back to another lore episode. This is episode 4, and tonight you can see that I've got one of our players here. He was kind of just roped into this last minute because it was an idea of mine, so he's really enthralled. But this is something that I like to do on this series: is introduce the players as they come, and then talk a little bit more about their character in depth, just to continue to world build. And as like always, this is also a stream for my players, so I have two of them around right now, and when they're listening, they usually get a little bit of tidbits as far as like what may be coming down the chute. So this Sunday we will have the Arcana of Alstaria. We will be continuing on with the pirate lore theme, and then be moving on to the next section. So John, one of our players, will continue to DM for half of the session, and then I, the normal DM for Arcana of Alstaria, will take over again for at least the foreseeable October, potentially November. Really exciting to progress, and it's been really awesome. Thank you to John and Luke who have gotten to DM, and then kind of breaking into it. So last week we talked about the god Light and kind of what she is about. And remember, she is not the oldest, so Time is the oldest of the 4 main gods, and then there's Light, and you have Twilight, and then you have Chaos. And that Light is kind of the one over the Fey realm and of such. So we got to go over that. We're going to, not necessarily in this one because we're still trying to keep the lore series condensed, not take up too much of your time, and we want to get over to our player over here, Phil, but we will talk a little bit about the youngest of the gods. So we have the youngest, who's Chaos, and he is pretty much your alignment, all your evil alignments. I'd say he's more chaotic evil than any of the other type of evils. Not necessarily lawful in his dealings with stuff. He's more about chaos. And kind of the contention that we saw in Campaign 1 was that Chaos was trying to enter into the realm, the material realm. And he was able to kind of almost, and at the very end of the campaign, they were able to fight alongside with somebody else notable, an NPC that was notable, and basically keep Chaos from entering the realm. Likewise, Chaos is typically out trying to enter the material realm. Basically, when the One, his father, created the 4, he basically put a stipulation that you might be able to influence with your power, but you can't directly enter my realm and start just blowing tops off mountains and stuff. And that goes for all the 4. So they don't typically enter in, and it's not to say that they don't try, and Chaos is particular in trying. So thematically, the reason we're bringing this up is because it is important to Phil and his player, because Chaos has technically been revealed as his dad, which makes his character a demigod in some aspects. And another thing is, in our pirate lore, the Umbriel, I believe, I'm drawing a little bit of blank, but she is also a daughter of Chaos in this particular thing. So we're starting to see some ties there and all that. So I'll turn it over to you. You want to introduce who you are and your character? And
my name is Philip, Phil for short. I play the character Rittz or Bane. He is a drow. He's not a normal drow. He's still got the most of the drow features, pale skin, elvish, except for this character has red hair, almost bloodish, Red. He grew up homeless and kind of rogue in a sense. At a young age, he was picked up by an elder drow in the. Pretty much grew up in around Darkvin City and the Darkmere Forest. She picked up on his curse magic that he wields when he can, if it rolls right. And she has introduced him into a life of learning how to be an assassin at a young age. Don't really touch too much of it in here. He kind of ventures more into his curse magic than super sneaky assassin type, but
so thematically speaking, what were your influences when you were creating this character? Not necessarily its class, but just Rittz as a character itself. What intrigued you about the drow?
I don't know. I've always liked elves. I didn't want to be a normal, fancy royalist elf. I guess I tend to like more of a darker side. So that's where I went, and red being my favorite color, as I'm wearing green. Yeah, I figured I'm gonna make him different, stand out just a little bit, maybe still stay secluded. I feel very, I'm not very active in as far as expressing everything, so quietness works better for me as a player if I can stay quiet. Haven't quite got my groove as far as playing the game like everyone puts a lot of expression and detail in it.
Well, to be fair, you did take like a 3-month hiatus from the campaign, so there was a moment where we were just kind of the campaign felt like we were starting to mesh all the characters, and you did take a 3-month and came back circle. So I feel like you're
coming back.
Like the last couple of sessions, I feel you've been more vocal about what Rittz is doing.
Yeah.
But that's because you've been solidly doing it for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of August and September, so you've been back into that rhythm of.
Yeah, and then just this isn't my first campaign playing with you, but it's a different character from the last one, and it's a different one from my very first character I've played.
Yes.
So
do you want to quickly mention the two that you have played before?
The past one that we played as you're the DM was a pirate minotaur. That one's probably my favorite still. But Yalborg has some fun moments drinking and being just careless.
So with Yalborg and that kind of being his thing, 23, or 21 being his iconic number there, are you looking for something like that as
in
Rittz?
Here? No, because I don't have that same feeling for him.
Okay.
I want to see his blood magic kind of go up. I'm more intrigued now that the father line has come out, but I haven't ventured that way. I thought maybe going to the Pirates Guild might be something he might do, but I am hesitant this time.
Because you did Pirates
because I did Pirates last time, and I don't know if that's just the way he wants to go.
So I feel like Rittz, and we'll get into his class stuff a little bit more here in a second, but I feel like for you, Rittz is a little bit more introspective than necessarily just out. All the thought, instead of all the thoughts out, all the thoughts are internal, and then
well, I'm trying to make sure he plays the part of still rogue. I'm sure he'll gradually grow more fond of his group that he's with, but at the same point, he's been a foster. He's
and we did have a little bit of a party separation.
Yeah, and so the one that he was going to be kind of close to is now no longer at the moment, or no longer involved in it. So he's kind of still back to being rogue, and being that he was trained in the assassin ways, he's still pretty much still playing the same part as his growth, but he's just like you said, he's growing.
Yeah.
So he's surrounded by people that don't understand him at the most part, and hated for being a redheaded drow on top of.
So a couple of follow-up questions on that. There's two that I want to hit. So like for immersion, do you feel like Rittz does have enough of that contention of him being a drow amidst high elf occupation?
He does. I mean, he's not gonna. I mean, he's still running the sneak part, but he's not gonna. I guess if this is not gonna answer your question, but he's still standoffish around him, so it's just not something he's run into to the point where he's.
Right, he hasn't had to like
intervene with him very much. Yeah, he's gotten one in altercation that didn't go too far with the previous run that we had when Luke was running it, but that just didn't go that direction. So we just let it be.
Yes, and to be fair, with it being a one shot, trying to progress.
Right,
things.
I'm sure it could have, but it. I just kind of left it at that. It wasn't. He's not doing the drink 23 or more if you can session. He'll still drink, but he doesn't lose his composure.
Yes.
As Yelborg did.
Right.
Yeah.
Follow-up question before we get into some class details. So in campaign 1, I think it was a learning mechanic for me as a DM. For those that are watching this episode, I am relatively new in the DMing world. I think I only picked up D&D 3 years ago. Has it been 3 years?
I think so.
Yeah. Phil's been involved with most of the projects that I've been involved with. I think I only started 6 months before he started playing first time.
At least, yeah.
With a different group, so.
I don't know if you DM'd another group, but.
No, my campaign was my first.
Right.
But I was playing in 2 others.
Right.
So I started in one that you played, and then we played in one together as players, and then that's what sold me to.
Still hanging in the balance.
Yeah, if you are paying attention tonight, we'd love to jump back into your game. So, Elvis is a fun character for me still.
Yeah.
It was really warming up to him. But to continue to follow up, so in campaign 1, being a new DM, and then new players learning my mechanics as a DM, I felt like, and this is more just a player than character, but like for me, DMing campaign 1, I felt like I drove you guys' backstories.
Yes.
Instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
And so this time, I'm not trying to drive as much of the backstory.
Right.
But I am trying to provide hooks that are meaningful to the end goal story that still involve, especially when there's. So we'll take, for example, Sir Ben and Luke. He has a very narrowed focus, whereas when we sat down in session 0, it was more broad. And so I don't want you, and particularly like Krista and stuff, to feel like when I do introduce mechanics like Rittz is now the son of Chaos, which was complete blindside surprise news to you, I don't want that to override the overall feeling flavor of your character, and I want to make sure that I'm not overstepping as a DM to.
I don't feel like it's overriding anything. I think it just provides, because I mean I didn't write the whole backstory for him. I really wrote the intro and we sat and went over that. But I think it allows me to grow with him.
Yes.
And we take. I mean, it's just. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I remember reading a book at one point where it gave me options to choose in this book, and it instead of just reading page to page to page, there was and so this is how I'm enjoying playing it. So it's not like every session something might happen if I choose to run amok on your campaign for one session or not.
Right.
I mean, it could be completely nothing, but yeah. So I think it's going just fine. Maybe one day I can write a whole backstory on one of them.
Well, we are officially past a year this campaign 2. Like last session, last session was October 1st.
Yeah.
So that would have been a year. Forgot to mention that in the stream. So our Canon Battle Story is officially 1 year in length of its journey, and we're thematically not even done with a section out of 5 sections. Granted, the 5th section is small; it's the very end part. So, but okay, so good. I am still taking what backstory we had written together in campaign 0, and this is the tidbit for my players when they watch. There will be a mechanic where you will encounter the orphan lady.
Which we also found out was my mom.
Yes.
And I believe her name is Fane Talbar.
Mm-hmm. So there is something that will be coming out of the chute that I've had planned with that's going to involve parental stuff. And I'm certain you could kind of hopefully pick it up. That's a hook that's been...
We've done... I mean, Yalborg was... You gave me a lot of rain on him. As far as throwing something in there that I wasn't expecting.
Right.
With his sister. And towards the end, and we just kind of played it as is, but...
Yeah.
So it works.
So let's take a complete step over. So mechanics, what made you choose Blood Hunter? Just that first, and we'll get a little deeper.
I can't remember why. I think I've always been drawn vampires, blood.
It didn't happen to be with us playing Diablo 3 and playing...
Probably have 100% chance that may be a thing. That playing Diablo 3 and now Diablo 4 and the mechanics of that and their abilities to use blood curses was very enticing.
Okay.
Very.
And the follow-up question is, I could see, and I know you've expressed, at least through the first 5 levels of Rittz, that it was... because Yalborg was more martial, meaning point, shoot, gun with turn. How is it with the mechanics taking a step where you're less of an upfront or ranged character, you're a support character? How's that been?
It hasn't worked out yet. I mean, I haven't. The mechanics of what I have for blood options, blood curses, are mostly binding. I wouldn't say... Okay, so I haven't seen it take a huge effect. He's been able to bind a couple, but I haven't gotten into the other spells that I have just on the basis of being new to this class.
Yes.
So there's a couple, and I might have to rearrange them again one more time as far as what curse-wise he goes, because there's 7 options.
Yes.
And I picked one on a whim because I was like, oh well, this one sounds alright, but I'm very bad at reading ahead of it and actually looking at how it works.
Yes.
So
I get in the same trap too.
Yeah, and it just... So I picked one as when I upgrade or when I leveled up instead of really going into it. But I've yet to use most of his stuff. It's been because I am so drawn to being up front with the sword, and using even a ranged weapon is odd, but occasionally I find myself doing it.
So with that said, do you think in the future, now that you've got a couple levels into Blood Hunter, do you think, because this campaign is meant to end on level 20, do you think you'll end up multi-classing? To get like some skills into fighter or something like that?
I don't know. Maybe. I think it just depends.
It'd be a new stretch for you because
we ran one. Can't. I think I only had 2 classes on Yellow Wars, but I don't know. I haven't looked past. I'm still figuring out the mechanics of the Blood Hunter, and I have a great amount of health on him.
Yes.
So he does take the damage that he does inflict on himself isn't really all that noticeable. But like I said, the curses that he has currently aren't.
So 3 last questions and then we'll wrap up.
Natural,
so run us through how, the first question is, run us through how it was newer kind of player. I mean, you played a full campaign, but how was it as a new player stepping into Blood Hunter? Is it
Blood Hunter's not. It's not hard. I mean, but again, I haven't gotten very far into the direction of which I want to go, so I wouldn't say it's hard. It's just more detailed than he's barbarian of that sort. Yeah, I think he's just fighter.
So that's the follow-up
question.
So
as far as having spells and not just something to hit with is just making me. I think it brings me a little bit farther into learning how to actually play D&D and not just go with comfortability.
Right.
So
yeah. So second question is rank your characters that you played based on their classes, not necessarily
right now Rittz is probably my least favorite one.
You were Bricken was a paladin.
Bricken was easier. I mean, again, but that's because of the way that I personally feel about them as far as the way that they play. I've played 2 where they are up front, they are fighting. They're more intrusive. Spells and stuff. I've not come comfortable enough to know. I'm not confident enough to. I'm going to continue playing them, and I'm trying to learn the best ways to play them. But as far as spells, they haven't just come easy. Like obviously, smash and go.
Yeah. Okay.
So as far as that goes, that I'm still looking forward to growing him to the point where I can use it.
Kind of the third question is, there's still opportunity to talk about this, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but I know that the players are rotating to DM, and one of my clauses as players that are coming to DM is it provides an opportunity that I know, especially long campaigns, and I'm talking more to the audience right now, is that players, especially when we've had a little bit of a revolving door. We've had some players come in and come out just for circumstances and better opportunities in life and all that type of stuff, which is totally okay. But with that, it has changed some dynamics where we used to have pairings, so player kind of had their person, and so it's kind of shifted, and we're hoping to find a little bit of that balance again. But as I've asked my players to guest DM, also one of the things that I've said is, if you're just not feeling your character, you can write them out. Is that something that you would consider?
I haven't thought about it with him yet. To be honest, I don't want to quit on him yet. Okay. I feel invested to the point where I think just because I struggle at the basics of reading your character's abilities is not a reason to get rid of him. I haven't died. I haven't been put down completely, so he's not terrible. But I just need to figure out the path of his that I want to go with his the Blood Hunter.
Okay. Yeah.
Even if it's pushing it to the side and creating that second class to him, if it really comes down to it. But I believe that I believe I can find the right path for his abilities.
Yes.
So, but I have no plans of writing another one.
Right, you're not back secretly. You're not backing up.
Yeah, even though he's by himself and the pairing has not stayed, I think that he can still find a way to connect with the players here. He is chaotic evil, so he does still stand a chance of being an annoyance at least.
Yes, right.
But I believe that most of my characters will still evolve around being loyal to a fault. Yeah, all my characters are all loyal to, and that's just a trait that I'll keep, I think.
Character trait that I get that.
No matter what. So he might just be a pain in the ass for the most part, and that's okay. I can play that route too just fine. He can play that route. He is growing more comfortable for the snide and snarky comments, and
finding that rhythm
that kind of fits my personality as well.
Yeah.
And I grow more at that with my current job tasks, that it's just easier to get snarky. So I think he'll be fine. I think we can see him to the end, unless I just don't roll that one.
And 3 natural runs.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think he's good. I think we can. I think I put enough weight on you when I almost didn't come back that I won't make this a harder campaign. To be honest,
it's been rolling for you.
Yeah.
So we're wrapping up, or going to be wrapping up here just in a few. Just gonna shout out that Phil and I did work a little bit together at the beginning of Rittz when we were looking at Blood Hunter class. So I want to shout out to one of our resources. We use a website called RPGbot that helps kind of line up. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And show you guys real quick, just something that I have used for a lot of mine. I personally, as a player, tend to be a bit of a power player, which I think thematically a lot of players are. But anyhow, I just wanted to quickly shout out to RPGbot, who does a lot of excellent builds online, and so you basically get a table of contents, tells you what's good, fantastic, or not good, and then goes through spells, races, what type of ability scores you need. It gives you even a standard ray or point buy into it. What feats, what weapons, armor, if you should multi-class or not. And just goes into it, and it does it for a whole bunch of different classes out there. And so it is something that I know Phil uses as a resource. I use it as a resource, only because while I might choose to change something, take a different feat, because maybe my DM gave me something different already that fills in the need for something. It gives me a general background. So super big thanks for RPGbot. And thank you, Phil, for surprise doing an interview. I'll probably snag one of my other players' surprise next week and try and rotate through them until we get through all the plays. Thank you, and have a good rest of your night.